Now that I've seen Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, you know what it's time for. A ranking video. So let's rank the 9 live-action Star Wars movies from least favorite to favorite. Make sure to do your ranking in the comments. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and this is my ranking of the 9 live-action Star Wars movies. Now that I've seen The Last Jedi twice, and I think I've got it in my head now how I really feel about this movie, and I think I've got it ranked nicely, so I'm ready to jump into this ranking. I'm excited for another excuse to talk about Star Wars. I want to talk about it with you, so in the comments, give me your ranking, let me know what you thought of these movies, and let me know what you thought of The Last Jedi. Are you excited about this movie? Disappointed with this movie? It seems like it's a pretty divisive movie, so either way, let's have a good conversation about it. So, without further ado, let's jump into this. Number 9, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. After coming out of Episode 1 that was just boring for me, I think this one was probably the most disappointing because Anakin was just so whiny. Here's Darth Vader, just the most epic villain, and here's Anakin Skywalker complaining about he doesn't like sand because it gets everywhere. And it's just like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. I wanted to see this guy on the Luke Skywalker hero's journey, where we really think he's on the path to be a hero. We get really attached to him, so when the deception and the temptation arises and he falls, it hurts all the more. Maybe this is my fault that it's here because my expectations were too high, but that's where my expectations were, and that's how I felt about this movie when I first saw it. However, a strong positive in this movie, I loved the ending lightsaber fights, the ending battle in the stadium, but mostly I loved that amazing fight between Count Dooku and Anakin where he knocked out the power and it was dark and all you really see is these lightsabers. That was just wicked awesome. Number 8, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. This one was just simply boring. I mean, it was casted well. I mean, you have Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn, Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's some really good casting. I thought Darth Maul was pretty cool, but I mean, overall, the movie was just kind of boring. And then it took the mystery out of the Force, where the other trilogy, the Force was this sacred thing, and now it's midi-chlorian, something in your blood that you're born with, and it just, that was just weird to me, and it just took away the whole mystery, mystical element that just added layers to it. So there was a lot of things that when you dig into Episode 1 that just kind of left me disappointed. But something about it that I thought was really cool, Darth Maul, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan. Their fight at the end was just absolutely epic. That death of Qui-Gon, it was powerful, man. It was awesome. So there was a lot of good stuff in that. So, like, that whole ending sequence was pretty cool. Coming in for me at number 7, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Of the original trilogy, I feel like this one is my favorite because it was cool to watch Anakin turn darker. It was cooler for me to watch his struggle between the light side and the dark side. I still felt like his character was a bit too whiny, and, you know, it's another reason that I just can't seem to place this one any higher. And I thought it was interesting, the whole thing that he had with, you know, Padme, where he has this vision of her dying, and so he's so desperate to save her, he goes to the Jedi, and, you know, he can't say he's married because he's not allowed to be in love, and so he's struggling with that. He's trying to say, how can we reverse death? And they're talking about how bad that is and all that stuff. And so, I mean, if he can't talk about that he's in love, if he can't talk about his feelings, if he can't talk about those things because the Jedi religion shuns it, he's going to go somewhere where somebody's going to listen to him. And not just listen to him, but give him what he wants. This is the seduction of the dark side. It listened to him and it offered, but it didn't really give. It took even more. So that whole underlining thing was awesome. Great lightsaber fight. Like the actual fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin at the end, I thought was really good. But I don't know, this original trilogy overall didn't really stand out to me. But even though it overwhelmingly didn't stand out to me, it does have positives for me. Number 6, Rogue One. This one is very much middle of the road for me. I definitely like it better than the prequels, but I don't like it as much as the new stuff that's being put out now. But I did like Rogue One. I think the thing that is the weakest point for me in Rogue One, it is Jyn Erso and it is Cassian. And I think the reason I say that they are the weakest point for me is I know they're supposed to carry the weight of this movie. I think there's supposed to be a lot of good chemistry between them. Will they, won't they, and all that stuff. But Honestly, I didn't feel like there was a lot of chemistry between them. I just didn't think the portrayal of their characters was as strong as it could have been. Now, they both had a lot of strong moments, but moments. I just didn't feel like overall it was like this super strong performance, but I did like it. And then other characters like Donnie Yen, like his character was just my favorite in the movie, and he had, to me, just some of the absolute best scenes. And so I definitely think this helped flesh out the world a little more. The whole overall concept and story of this, about how they got the Death Star plans, it was amazing. I liked their use of Vader in this. I thought it was cool that it was not a ton. I thought it was cool that it was sparing, and I liked that ending hallway scene. Like, that scene gave me the chills when Vader comes out of the darkness with his lightsaber and then defeats all those people on that hallway as they're rushing to get the plans out. Like, things like that were really cool, and its lead up into A New Hope was really cool. So yeah, I feel like Rogue One could have been stronger, and there were points where it could have been stronger, but overall it's still not a bad movie, and I did enjoy it. Number 5, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Getting into the original trilogy and some of these new ones, this is where it's getting harder and harder for me to rank, because I love the original trilogy. I mean, to me, the original trilogy is just amazing. And Episode 4 was an amazing setup into all the stuff that we were going to get into. It was a great introduction to Obi-Wan Kenobi and meeting him for the first time. Great introduction to the Force, and kind of like scratching the surface of what it is, but not giving all of it away, which made us just starve for what's coming next. And so like that was all really well done. I mean, who doesn't love Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, or Harrison Ford as Han Solo, Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia, these roles being portrayed in their classic time in these classic movies. I mean, Episode 4 was just a great introduction to all these characters. It was a great setup to the story and what was coming, and a great way for us just to meet the Skywalkers. So, I mean, I don't really know what else to say, and I don't really have a ton negative to say about it. I think Luke starts in this movie a little whiny, but I think the whininess in the original trilogy works better than the prequel trilogy, because it's all about Luke growing out of that, and that was kind of the purpose of it. He grows up. So, a lot of really cool things about it. So, I love this original trilogy. Number 4, Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Fantastic closing chapter to a fantastic trilogy. Ugh! I mean, the whole thing between Luke and Vader, and Luke sensing the conflict, Luke being stuck up on the platform with the Emperor, seeing that his friends are in a trap, the Emperor setting the trap to destroy the rebellion, but using the destruction of the rebellion to tempt Luke, so that Luke will take his father's place at the Emperor's side, and of course the Emperor's just gonna throw away Vader. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about life. He just cares about the person with the most powerful power being under his control. But the way they do temptation in this movie, the way they show the seductiveness of the Force. I mean, the Emperor is ugly as snot, and yet they managed to make the dark side look appealing, because all Luke wants to do is strike him down. And the Emperor took that and used that against Luke. Oh my gosh! Like, that was brilliant to watch Luke struggle with the dark and the light and ultimately make the right decision. To watch Luke making that light decision be something that impacts Vader and redeems Vader. I mean, so much of that was so brilliant. That's not to even mention the whole arc between Han Solo and Leia and all the stuff with the Ewoks, which I like the Ewoks, okay? I'm one of those people. I'm fine with the Ewoks, okay? I'm cool with that whole thing. So, like, there was just so much that was so fun about this movie for me, and so deep and so good. Number 3, Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. I had to see this movie twice before I really figured out where it fell. And I'm going to be honest with you, there's still a lot of things that I'm thinking about. It's really interesting, because one of the things I like about this movie is the risks that this movie took to go the different directions that it went. I liked how deep it dug into the Force. And then I was talking to somebody at church, and they're like, that movie took no risks. It was nothing but a people-pleasing movie. And then somebody else talks about it and how wonderful and fantastic it is. Somebody else talks about it, and I was just bored and it wasn't that good. I mean, it's amazing the different reactions people are having to The Last Jedi, both good and bad, and none of the reactions are wrong. I mean, it's a film. It's a fictitious movie. We're all allowed our opinions. I liked it the first time I saw it, but I was overall confused about all the different feelings I was feeling. The second time I saw it, I caught so much more, and it just took me so much deeper into it that I enjoyed it more. The flaws are still there for me, and they're still apparent, but I enjoyed it a lot more the second time, especially certain elements that I caught that I didn't see the first time. It kind of deepened my appreciation for it in the direction that it went. So, I mean, we're all in different places with it, which is so fascinating about this movie. But it is at my number 3 because overall, I really liked it, and I enjoyed it even more my second time watching it. Number 2, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. I just thought this movie was fantastic. Plain and simple. Yeah, I recognize it used a New Hope template. I do. I'm not blind to it. I don't care. It's awesome, and it did a great job doing that. So I had a lot of fun with this movie. It was a great way to bring us back what we loved about Star Wars and introduce all kinds of new elements. So it got me excited for this new trilogy. Still one of my favorite Star Wars. I love it. Number 1, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. It's just hard for me to top this one. It really is. And the reason, I mean, like, I don't know if I'm different than everybody else on this, but the reason this remains at my number 1 is the Yoda-Luke training. All the stuff about digging deep into the Force, what the Force is, how we connect to the Force, the difference between the light side and the dark side, Luke having to take that battle, Luke, you know, having that vision of Vader underneath that tree and that dark side thingy and cutting off Vader's head and the mask disappears, but it's Luke's face in there. Oh, like all that stuff was just, it's so deep, man. It's just so deep. All the stuff dealing with Yoda and the Force was just so brilliant. And then we go from there to Luke having to put that into practice. He leaves his training too early. He faces Vader too early when he's not ready. And for not being ready, I think he does a pretty darn good job. But it takes all this stuff that he's learned from Yoda, and now he has to apply it, and we have to watch him apply it. And I feel like he half succeeds and he half fails. I mean, he succeeds because he doesn't turn over to the dark side and he doesn't die. I mean, he fails because he does not defeat Vader in this moment, and he wasn't yet ready to bear the revelation that Vader was his father. He ended up bearing it well, but he just wasn't ready at that moment. And so pulling all that stuff together, the way this movie pulled this off, the way it just dives into all that stuff, I don't know what else to say. I have a theological analysis on it. Check that out because I get deeper into it there. I will just say that I think this one is still my favorite in the Star Wars franchise. How about you? How would you rank these Star Wars movies? I am beyond excited for your ranking below and to have an awesome conversation with you about it. So while you're down there leaving those comments, please hit that subscribe button to become a Durbanian and hit the bell next to it so you're notified for the next ranking video I drop, or the next theological analysis, or movie review, trailer reaction, whatever else I do here. Hit that bell. I'm Durbin. Thanks for checking out Durbania.